Hi, Amanda here with Crafting with Amanda, and this is the November 2021 club card. If you're wondering what you need to do to get these card pieces sent out to you for free, you either need to be a VIP of mine, so you've gone on to Close to My Heart and signed up as a VIP with Crafting with Amanda, or if you go to craftingwithamanda.com, there's a link that talks about the kits, and there's different purchase options for including card bases and envelopes or just including the card pieces, and they average, I think, right around $2.50 a month if you want to get on that subscription. If you're already subscribed to my channel, thank you. If not, here's an opportunity for you to do that. And if you already have subscribed, you can like and comment on my videos, and that lets YouTube know that it's something that other people might be interested in. Let's get started. These are the pieces that came in your envelope, and spoiler, I forgot to put the lacy leaf in my envelope for my practice, so I didn't remember it until at the very end. So I do talk about at the very end where I would add that image or that icon shape onto your cards. But for now, this is all the pieces that came. You got 3 sets of leaves that need to be glued together, and then the 3 pumpkins, the sweater, 2 sentiment banners plus 3 sentiments. So you can choose from grateful, give thanks, or hello for your sentiments. And I'm just going to glue all of these Cricut cuts together. And these came from the Pumpkin Spice SVG files, just in case you want to do that. And I decided this month that I'm going to go back and revisit the bridge card. I just really like that. So that was my sample, and I realized I didn't have the dimensions for the base cardstock on my sample piece, so I went ahead and wrote that in. And just so that you know, those are 8 by 4 1/4. So I'm cutting both of these down to 8 by 4 1/4, and then those extra pieces on the side are great for when I need to do some work but not sure where, what I need to do, or my brain's not functioning right. And so I just go ahead and stamp sentiments for the evening. So I've scored these both at 1 1/4 and then 2 1/2 from both of the edges, and that gives you your base for your card. And then the centerpiece of like the background of the card is 3 by 4 1/4 because it's 4 1/4 tall, and you can leave a frame around it if you want. Because I'm using a white card base and these colors are more fall tones and rich, I didn't want to leave that white border. Other colors that are less muted, I'll call it, would have worked fine with the white. But this one, I don't know. I think of fall leaves and fall colors in general as more toned down, and I don't want to say muddied because that's a bad connotation, but that's what it is. So here, to kind of change up this bridge fold card, I'm trimming the top corners almost like a cascade card. And I marked, from the one side, I marked it 1 3/4 inches down, and then a 1/2 inch from the center score line on the one side, and I did that to both sides. And then this one I'm doing from that center score line down 2 inches. And it just gives you both different feels, or the cards just are a little different. And it's not huge, but maybe you can tell at the end, and you can decide what you like or don't like, or which one works for you. So here I'm taking the paprika, sapphire, and then I also pulled out, I think, the Sundance inks, and I'm just sponging the edges, kind of giving it that distressed edge look. And then I also rubbed the edges of the pattern paper into the ink pads as well, and I didn't make you watch me do all of that. And because I can't cut a straight line without having a guide, I went ahead and cut these pieces off using one as a pattern for the other. And again, I'm just running the edges of these in the paprika ink just to give them some depth. And I forget to do it later to one of the other pattern paper, but that's fine. It all still works good. And here I put the glue on the wrong side of the paper, so I just brushed it off, and we're gonna attach it the correct way now. So if that happens, just if you're quick, especially with the liquid glue, if you're quick, it's pretty forgiving. And I just trimmed those corners off where they went over the edge of where I'd cut the angle, and then I don't know if you saw with the paprika cardstock, I did a direct to paper inking just to make sure that that top edge matched the other edges. Now's the point in this process that I'm realizing I'm going to be short on paper if I'm going to cover and do 2 full cards. So I'm trying to be economical with my card paper use. So that's what I'm doing, is I'm trimming off the pieces so that they match at the bottom, and then I'm putting that wood grain piece across both of them to kind of hide the gap. And I know it's funny, it seems like, well, that's just so little, but all of those littles do add up to giving me what I need to finish the cards. So if you want to do that the same as I did on this first card, I actually wouldn't have put yellow on the inside flaps that are on the first angle. I think I would have just maybe lightly sponged the inside of the card and just let it go more natural than putting pattern paper there. If you do that, you won't have any problem having enough paper for the second card. So here I've decided to go with Give Thanks on this little flag. And then in a moment of pure inspiration, and I'm a morning person, so my brain works faster in the mornings, I thought, because this is a bridge card and it's going to pop up, what if I put a little hinge on the side and attach my sentiment to the side of the card so that when it's open, it's actually not on the base, but standing up halfway between the front of the card and the back of the card. And that's exactly what I did. And you'll notice when I have it pushed down to the one side and then open it up, it flaps open more than I want it to. But when I push it so that if it's glued to the left and I push the card to the left to go in my envelope that way, when it pops up on its own, it goes into a more natural place. So my tip on that is, if you glue your little sentiment banner to the left side of your card base, then when you mail the card to somebody, have all of your pieces folded flat to the left side. And vice versa, if you do it to the right, then go ahead and have your pieces go to the right side. Like right now, everything's to the right, and then when you moved it back over to the left there. So I attached the wood grain, and now I'm just adding my pumpkins to the top. It's funny, I looked at this for a long time, and I'm like, oh, I should add something. And then I felt, well, you didn't send them anything to go with it, so maybe you should just do it with the pieces that they got. So here it is that I was saying that if you fold it for the left side and it goes in your envelope, then when they pull it up, that Give Thanks just pops up nicely. Now we're going to go on to card number 2. And because I've already inked some of the edges, this card will come together pretty quickly, or it should, until I realized that I needed more paper to cover everything, and I didn't have something long enough to bridge along the front. But I'm solving that by taking the big piece that I sent with all the other pieces with you in your envelopes, and I cut it in half, so it's 3/4 wide by I think 4 inches long. And now I'm realizing that I'm going to embrace my inner Mary Beth, and I'm going to do sponge or color blending on my card base. So again, I took Sundance, Paprika, and then the Sapphire inks, and I used my blender brushes. And you can see that kind of you go back over sometimes the lighter color to make it a nicer blend. I'm not being as picky as probably other people will be. I know that I'm going to have a bridge that's going to cover that transition between the orange to the blue. I do recommend cleaning up your little mats just so that when you put your card base back down, you don't end up getting ink smeared on the back of your card, or really on anything else that you don't want ink on. And I put everything away, forgetting that I needed to do that front little part of the bridge card as well. So the same technique, I'm just taking my blender brushes and those 3 colors and kind of just doing some ink blendering on the front. And I really like how this card turned out, so quite pleased with this. So we're going to clean things up, put it away, and then I realized when I put this pattern paper against my card base, the card base had this rich, warm depth to it, and the pattern paper was just a little cold. So I warmed it up by inking it just a little bit with the paprika ink, and it just kind of melded the colors more, and it just, for me, it just made it work a lot better. If you look between the first card that I did and the second card, you can kind of see the crispness versus the haziness that inking gives the pattern paper. So again, I'm doing that inking on the front of what's going to be our bridge carrier. And I'm dry fitting some pieces and making sure where I want the split to be. And I realized that the leaf would cover it, but I would have to be really exact where I put the leaf. So when I put the banner for the sentiment on the top of the card, I realized it too was too bright and needed to be dulled down. So I didn't need to re-ink my sponge or my brush. I just used the ink that was left on it to sponge that. And now I'm gluing down the word grateful. I thought I was going to use hello, but with this card, I just like the word thankful, grateful. And I'm attaching this one to the right edge of the bridge card. And here you'll see that I'm going to attach both of these pieces, one to each side, and then being mindful of which one is on top of the other one is where you end up with your seam, I'll call it. And because the sweater is bigger than the leaves, I'm going to have the seam be underneath where the sweater is, and then no one's ever going to see that. So you have that option as well. So there's my sweater on there. I'm going to add my leaves. And the more I am looking at this, the more I'm like, oh, it needs something. So once I glue these leaves down, I decided that it just needed something more. So I will go ahead and dig out the gold sequins and pour them into my little lid here. And I'm just going to put 3 of them on the first card. So I think most everybody that's a VIP has sequins. And I apologize that I didn't think of this beforehand to send you some. And then on this one, I used the muted gold on the first card. And then on this color, the second card, I want the more bright gold. So I pulled out 5 of them to make sure that I had 5 of them in the same color tone of gold. And then just added my dots of glue around the card, and voila, cards are done. And it's at this point that I realized, where is the really pretty leaves that I cut out and that the Cricut worked so hard to do? So everything is glued down, but I'm going to kind of show you what my intent was. It was to cut this piece into 2 and then have it kind of tucked behind things. And if I hadn't glued down those leaves and the sequins as well as I did, I would have put that leaf behind on the right hand side of the second card. Here's a close-up of the cards for you to look at, and I hope that you are able to enjoy just playing with these pieces. Again, you can make whatever kind of card you want. You're not limited to a bridge full card. I just thought it worked well for this. Here's some other videos that you may be interested in, and I hope you all have a blessed day and a very happy Thanksgiving. Bye.